Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sue Woykin. I am the Marketing and Event Coordinator here at Kendal at Home. And with us today is Marla Gordon. She is our Director of Clinical Services here at Kendal at Home. I'm going to let her tell us a little bit more about her background in case you haven't met her or heard her speak with us before. So take it away, Marla.
Thank you, Sue. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As Sue stated, my name is Marla Gordon, Director of Clinical Services here at Kendal at Home. I work with the care coordination team. The Kendal at Home course series is designed to educate, engage, and inform. We hope that you, your family, and friends will find time to join us throughout the fall for the many events that we offer, most of which are currently virtual, but increasingly in person as conditions allow. And thanks to the Friends Foundation for Aging for their generous contribution and support of our programming. A little bit about my background. I am actually an occupational therapist. I have been an occupational therapist for 22 years. And this is where you all gasp in disbelief because how can that be? I'm only 30 years old, right? But I've had the great fortune of working in a variety of settings. So my background stems from skilled nursing facilities, rehab hospitals, and outpatient neuro experiences. And though I've had the great fortune of working in each of those entities, the downside is that falls and the negative effects of falls can be seen in each of those areas as well. So I've had opportunity to work with many of the negative side effects of individuals that have experienced falls. So today we're going to talk about balance and steps and some strategies for fall prevention and to discuss some of the benefits that Kendal at Home offers our members to try to prevent falls. And I'll start with this picture. Makes me a little nervous of this woman walking on this ledge, but it appears to be wide enough to not be a fall risk for her. So, and balance, we can think of it as the key to life is balance. And if we all had balance like this elephant here that can balance on one or two legs upside down without falling, I don't think we'd have to have this presentation today. But unfortunately, that is not reality for most of us. We're going to go through a couple true or false questions and provide some information. So you can certainly answer to yourself, or if you'd like to click on the chat button on your screen and type in true or false and see if you're correct in your answers as we go along, that would be great as well. So true or false, question number one. Falls are a normal part of aging. We hear this one a lot, and most individuals feel this way. So is that true or false that falls are a normal part of aging? You can click on chat and put your response of true or false, or you can just consider that answer to yourself as we look at the correct answer here. Oh, and let's see. I'm gonna call on Sue for just a moment because someone raised their hand, maybe.
Okay, 1 second.
Not sure if they wanted to answer the question or if they had a different question.
Well, so far I see a false and a true. I'm getting both kinds of answers in the chat box. And I am not seeing anyone with a hand raised at this point. Okay. So maybe it was an accident and they put it back down.
Perfect, thank you. So the answer to this, are falls a normal part of aging? The answer is false. Though falls are common and more common as we age, they are not considered to be a normal part of aging because most falls can be prevented. And falls prevention is for everybody. Question two. Individuals who fall, even if they are uninjured, are at increased risk of another fall. So if you experience a fall, even if you don't have an injury, you are at an increased risk of another fall. Is that true or false? Again, you can put it into the chat or you can go ahead and answer to yourself.
I see one true so far coming in through our chat.
Okay, very good. They would be correct. That answer is true. The risk of repeat falls, despite whether an injury is sustained or not, is exponentially increasing with each fall that you experience. Question three, and we have a total of 5 of these questions here. Question 3, the majority of falls occur outside of the home. So if I just stay in my home, I have nothing to worry about. True or false? Great. and the answer
I'm
to this
getting
one is
false and another false and another
perfect.
false.
Oh, you guys are super. You know all these answers already. The answer is false. Excuse me. Over half of all falls for those ages 65 to 84 take place in the home. This graph gives a little bit of a depiction looking at living situation versus mechanism of injury and location of fall, and breaks it down a little further, looking at individuals between 65 and 84 years old and those that are 85 and over. So you can see that falls from a standing position increases twofold plus for those individuals that are 85 and over compared to counterparts ages 65 to 84. And falls outside the home essentially double for those that are 85 and over. And a huge difference in age when we look at falls for individuals that live alone. So there's a lot of contributing factors, which can, unsteadiness, weakness, doing activities we shouldn't necessarily be doing, like carrying laundry down the steps or bending over to reach for something. But when you're living alone, we rely on ourselves to do those things. Question 4. Some medications, including over-the-counter and herbal supplements, can increase fall risk. True or false? The answer to this question is true. And you may have heard of a brown bag medication review, and that's really just as it sounds. The idea is that you take all of your medications when you have your annual visits with your physicians in a brown paper bag to be reviewed. And that means including all over-the-counter medications and prescription medications, including pills and creams, as well as supplements to your MD appointments. This allows the physician the ability to review your schedule, making sure you're taking them in the correct dose and the correct timing, and also the ability to review the side effects and potential interactions leading to increased fall risk. A lot of times we feel that if we're taking supplements or vitamins or natural supplements of some sort, they probably will not interact with our prescription medications. And that is not always the case. Those supplements are not regulated by the FDA, and they can have negative consequences when interacting with some medications. So it's important to bring everything with you at least once a year to review with your physician. And the final true false question, number 5, an older adult falls every 5 minutes. True or false? An older adult falls every 5 minutes.
Got one true already.
Okay.
And another true.
All right. Well, then you'll be a little bit shocked to hear this answer. As alarming as it would be to have an individual fall every 5 minutes, the true statistic is that an elderly individual in the United States falls every second. Let that sink in for a second. Every second, an elderly individual in the United States experiences a fall. This is just a quick graph that shows from 2010 until 2019, for those age 65 and over in Ohio, the number of deaths related to falls. You can see they're climbing as a whole as we go on year to year. Up to, climbing above 1,400 deaths related to falls in Ohio in 2019. So why so much talk about falls? As I mentioned, every second an older adult falls, and falls are the main cause of morbidity and disability in the elderly. More than a third of those 65 years or older fall each year, and half of these falls are recurrent. Your risk doubles or triples in the presence of cognitive impairment or a history of previous falls. So every time you fall, you are exponentially increasing your risk of a second or third fall. And then we have the cost component. And I find this to be astonishing numbers. Each year, approximately $50 billion is spent on medical costs related to non-fatal fall injuries, and $754 million is spent related to fatal falls. So aside from the obvious, just from the cost perspective to Medicare, to insurance companies, to hospital systems, there's a huge focus on trying to reduce falls. So who's at risk for falls? As we mentioned, as your age advances, you are at higher risk for falls. As a whole, males versus females are pretty much even, with males with a little bit higher rate of death from falls. Those who have had previous falls are at exponentially higher risk for falling again. Those with muscle weakness, gait and balance issues, poor vision, postural hypotension, or you might have heard this called orthostatic hypotension. This can be a side effect of medication, another huge reason why it is so important to review your medication with your physicians. Orthostatic hypotension or postural hypotension means when you are changing positions, so going from either lying down to sitting or from sitting to standing, that your blood pressure drops. And usually individuals experience a bit of a lightheadedness, maybe a little bit of dizziness, and it usually subsides in up to 2 minutes. But individuals that experience orthostatic hypotension, when they go from sitting to standing and just start taking off to walk without first resting a minute or two to let your blood pressure stabilize, they're putting themselves at a huge risk for falls. So again, making sure, I can't reiterate enough the importance of reviewing your medication with your physician. And then those with chronic conditions, so arthritis, stroke, incontinence. And incontinence because you're usually rushing to the bathroom or having to go to the bathroom many times during the day, so you're increasing your chance of falls. Those with diabetes, because often individuals with diabetes experience peripheral neuropathy, so they lose sensation in the bottom of their feet, which makes it difficult to gauge where your feet are in space as you're walking, difficult to gauge the surfaces you're standing on, and puts you at a higher risk for falls, as well as those individuals with Parkinson's disease and dementia. And then the last one, people feel is a little ironic, that actually having a fear of falling puts you at a higher risk of falling. And that's usually the individuals that have experienced a fall and are so fearful of falling again that they take those extra precautions. But they're typically the individuals we see holding onto their furniture as they're walking through their home, or holding onto a wall, shuffling their feet and instead of taking nice long strides, staring down at their feet instead of looking forward at what's coming ahead of them in the environment. So that fear of falling can actually increase your risk of falls. So how do we decrease fall risk? Annual eye exams, annual hearing tests, making sure your current prescription is correct for you so that you're seeing properly, number one, and annual hearing tests to make sure you're hearing what's happening around you in the environment. Wearing proper footwear. Oftentimes we see people that are wearing slippers that don't have any back support, and the back of the slipper gets caught on something and it causes a fall. Making sure that you're wearing well fitted footwear, that's a tongue twister, that has a heel support, good arch support, is tied properly, your shoelaces aren't untied. Again, you've heard me say it 100 times already, so you know how important that annual medication review is a great way to decrease fall risk. Being mindful of slippery surfaces. This is a big one as a therapist. We see all the time people carrying those canes that they're supposed to be using. So using prescribed assistive devices. If you're supposed to be using a cane or a walker or a crutch, please make sure you're using it. And if you have questions on how to use it or whether it's fitting properly, that's when to request a therapy evaluation from your physician. Exercise, we'll talk a lot more about in a moment as a means to decrease fall risk. Staying physically active, getting enough sleep, and standing slowly, as I talked about in regard to the orthostatic hypotension. So lots of ways that we can try to decrease our fall risk. Safety in the home is a huge topic of discussion, and I just went through some of the more popular things to consider when you're looking at decreasing fall risk in the home. Number one, sounds easy, but try to tell some people to remove those throw rugs that they've had in their homes that look beautiful, that are huge tripping hazards. If you insist on having those throw rugs in your home, please make sure they're secured, that they have some type of sticky two-way tape or padding so that they're not easily movable and you're not going to catch your toe as you're walking, putting yourself at risk for falls. Keeping pathways free of clutter. Again, using those assistive devices, canes and walkers that you've been prescribed to use. Anytime you can sit while dressing, that's a big one. Trying to stand and put your pants on, or trying to stand and put your shoes and socks on. We see lots of people falling that way. If you have the ability to sit and get dressed, that definitely decreases your risk for falling in the home. Ensuring stairs and walkways are in good repair. You know, is it time to have some cracks outside of your driveway or in your stairs walking into your home? repaired so that you don't catch a heel or a toe and put yourself at risk for falls. Installing grab bars, and not only in the bathroom, which is the most popular place you see grab bars, in the shower, next to the toilet, but also on doorways coming into your home. So whether that's your front door or the door from your garage into your home, having those grab bars to be able to pull yourself up safely, getting up the steps into your home. And grab bars, a lot of people mistake towel racks and soap dishes and toilet paper holders for grab bars. Those are not meant to bear the weight of a person. So actual grab bars that are intended and installed properly are meant to be used to assist you in standing or transferring. Use of adaptive equipment, and there are so many types of adaptive equipment. If you find that you are struggling with any of what we call activities of daily living, those include things like bathing, dressing, toileting, even things like cooking or cleaning. If there's certain tasks that you struggle with, there is very likely a piece of adaptive equipment out there to assist you to become more independent and more safe. These are some of the most common. Many of you have probably seen a reacher. Some people call it a grabber. It's a long metal claw with a little trigger at the end. These are the best piece of equipment. If I could just recommend one piece to be able to retrieve items from the floor without bending over, is investing in a reacher, which, for under $15 to decrease your fall risk is huge. Also, a sock aid is a piece of equipment often prescribed for individuals after a hip replacement because they're not allowed to bend over to put their socks on. It allows you to sit down, put your socks on with the aid of this piece of equipment, and not have to bend down to the ground to put your sock on. And then a long-handled sponge, reaching down in the shower or the tub to try to reach your feet, again, puts you at huge risk for falls. So a long-handled sponge is just a long piece of plastic, usually with a round yellow sponge at the end. It can be heated up, the handle can be heated up and bent so that you can more easily reach your back and reach your feet. But these are the three most popular pieces of adaptive equipment. Occupational therapists are the ones that are available to recommend equipment for you. So certainly if you feel like there's a task, if you feel like there's a task in your everyday life that you're struggling with, talking to your care coordinator or to your physician about obtaining an order for occupational therapy for an evaluation to discuss what pieces of adaptive equipment might help you most would be recommended. And then there's the bathtub and the shower, the most dangerous places in the home. Using a tub bench or a transfer tub bench to sit on while you're taking your shower, getting a handheld shower so that you can direct the water when you're sitting on a tub bench. There are all kinds of tub benches available, from a true bench without a back that fits inside your tub, to a bench with a back, to a transfer tub bench where two legs sit inside the tub and two legs sit outside the tub. And it allows individuals to sit down on the outside of the tub, scoot their bottom over, lift their legs over the lip of the tub without having to stand and step over, increasing their fall risk. Avoiding sitting on low surfaces. If you have difficulty getting up off of your couch or out of your chair or out of your favorite recliner, even increasing that seated surface by 1 inch hugely increases your independence and safety in getting up off of those surfaces. So whether that means getting some elevated, they make plastic elevated legs that can go on the bottom of your legs of your chair or your couch, or taking a extra couch cushion or a pillow and elevating that seat height makes getting up so much easier. Same with the use of elevated toilet seats. Being able to increase that toilet seat level another 1 or 2 inches increases independence in getting up. It also increases your safety and decreases your fall risk. Elevated toilet seats, there are a variety of removable toilet seats. You've probably seen the plastic ones that are about 2.5, 2 inches thick that set on top of the toilet. There are also bedside commodes you've probably heard of, the metal frame that have the buckets attached to them. Those are also referred to as 3-in-1 commodes, and that's because they can be used in 3 different manners. One is next to the bed with that bucket attached to it as a bedside commode, or the bucket can come off and the entire frame placed into your shower or tub to use as a tub bench. Or that same frame can be placed over your existing toilet, and that does 2 things. It gives you the ability to increase the height to ease transfers, but also gives you the handles to push up off of on the side of the 3-in-1 to be able to ease transfers as well. Keeping walkways and stairwells lit, using a nightlight. We see many falls, individuals walking to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and they forgot that they had their bathrobe on the floor, or they forgot that their dog's toy was on the walkway. Using a light of some sort to light the way so that you are not blindly walking in the dark is hugely going to decrease your fall risk. So many more examples we can give, but these are some of the most popular things that you can kind of take note of immediately to try to increase your safety in the home. So the good news, a regular balance-focused exercise program can successfully reduce your reduce your risk of falling. So one day we might be able to look like this gymnast who, though she looks like she's just about to fall, she's able to recover and not end up on the ground. So why is exercise important? The World Health Organization in December 2020 stated that evidence indicates the risk of fall-related injury may be reduced with multi-component physical activity and a combination of any of the following. So anything from general strengthening to dual task exercise training, flexibility, endurance, core strengthening, gait and mobility, physical function training, and balanced righting reactions. And balanced righting reactions are just what we saw with that gymnast. While her momentum was going backwards, about to fall off of that balance beam, she was making use of her arms and engaging her core to offset that backwards momentum in order to not fall off the balance beam. So the recommended dosing of physical activity to decrease falls is use of multi-component physical activity at moderate or greater intensity 3 or more days per week. So this is the general prescriptive of taking part in at least one of those types of activities we just mentioned at moderate or greater intensity, and doing so in three or more times per week. Even active older adults need to optimize balance and mobility for unexpected events. So I know this video is a little disturbing, but it does illustrate the point. So what we see here is the person number one walks out into what appears to be an icy, slippery road, and unfortunately takes a pretty heavy fall with a hard blow to the head. Person 2 and 3 come after her probably to assist, but they go down as well. Is there anything you notice that is different between the other 2 individuals when they fall versus the first individual? If you want to click in the chat and tell me what you might notice that's different about their falls versus the first individual that fell. And Sue, I'll ask you if anybody happens to put anything in there, if you would let me know.
The other 2 people landed on their butts, not necessarily their backs, and then somebody else, they don't hit their head.
You're right, absolutely. So the answer is probably twofold. Number one, they were expecting the possibility of falling because they had just seen someone already fall. But the other huge component is, even if we cannot prevent falls, we can try to prevent injury. So the manner in which the other 2 individuals fell leads me to believe that they were able to engage their core. They were able to kind of plan how they're going to fall. They were able to tuck their chin to prevent hitting their head. So even in those unexpected instances where we might not be able to prevent the fall, our next goal, the next best thing, is to try to prevent injury as well. One more time. It's a little bit morbid to watch people falling, but it really does illustrate the point. So who should I inform if I've had a fall? If you're a Kendal at Home member, certainly please inform your care coordinator that you've had a fall, whether you've had an injury or not, as well as your primary care physician. It's important to track falls to see if there's any type of pattern, time of day, type of fall. And the care coordinators will assist in offering interventions to try to keep the same type of fall from happening again. So they might recommend some changes to a process that you were performing while you had your fall. They may recommend some modifications to your home to decrease the chances of that same type of fall from happening. And they can also work with your primary care physician to obtain a therapy order if that's appropriate, to try to work on balance and strengthening. Certainly alerting family as well, regardless of injury. So next, we're going to shift to talk a little bit about member benefits aimed at reducing fall risk. So first and foremost, our care coordinators, conduct annual home safety evaluations. So they take a look at your house. They're looking for those throw rugs. They're looking for railings that might be loose. They're looking for light switches that might not be functioning, and just making some recommendations of how you can make your home safer. They also conduct an annual fall risk assessment. So they ask a variety of questions that have been shown to determine whether an individual is at a high risk for falling or not. And then based on those responses, they also perform a little deeper dive into fall risk. So they conduct the timed up and go. So an individual sitting in a chair, they're asked to get up, walk 10 feet across the room, turn around and come back and sit down. They conduct the 30-second chair stand. So an individual sitting in a chair, you're timed for 30 seconds and the care coordinator counts how many times you're able to go from sitting to standing during that 30-second period. And they also conduct the 4-stage balance test, which is a test to see if you can hold each of 4 positions for 10 seconds at least. And those include standing with your feet together, standing with your feet in tandem, standing with one foot in front of the other, and then lastly, standing on one foot for 10 seconds. And all of these are evidence-based, reliable, valid assessments that have age-related norms to allow you and even your physician know if you're a high risk for falls. Other member benefits, we offer annual physical home modification evaluations. So Kendal at Home partners with companies that come into the home. We offer this on an annual basis to take a look at your roof, to change the batteries in your smoke detector, to change the filters in your furnace, to make recommendations of where they're seeing walkways or stairs that need repaired, or where they would recommend a grab bar being placed. So that is a huge benefit of being a member of Kendal at Home, is having that annual physical home modification evaluation. Now, I know some of you attending today may not be in Ohio, currently in Ohio, and as we grow, we're working on expanding this benefit into Massachusetts. We offer personal training in the home of individuals with the goal of reducing fall risk. So we've partnered with a provider who comes into the home. They conduct 4 one-hour personal training sessions and really focus on fall evidence-based exercises to reduce your risk. And then at that point, an individual has the opportunity, if they'd like to continue on with personal training, to continue to do so on their own. And we've been less than a year, I believe, that we've offered this particular benefit, and it has been huge with our members. We've had over 60 members participate so far, and we've got nothing but excellent reviews with the personal training sessions. That's been a great way to try to decrease falls. And not only decrease falls, they also focus on how to get up from a fall, which, ideally we don't want that fall to happen. But if it does happen, how do you safely transfer from the floor to get back up? And then we also offer Movement Mondays, which is a virtual exercise platform conducted by 2 of our care coordinators. Twice a month, we offer general strengthening exercises. And twice a month, we offer Balloflex, which is a super fun seated to music exercise routine that anybody can do. And even though it's seated, don't let it fool you. It gets the heart moving. You get lots of steps in, and Terry does an amazing job of leading that class for everyone. And a more recent benefit that we're so excited to offer is a membership to Spiro 100. And this is kind of like Netflix for exercise. It's an on-demand, unlimited web and app-based video streaming fitness and wellness class. They vet experts in exercise working with seniors, and they offer over 100 full-length videos that you have access to at any time. It allows you to go through the menu and choose if you'd like to perform your classes in sitting or in standing, the exertion level you'd like to participate in, the pace, if you'd like to focus on fall prevention. There's meditation and drum circles and Tai Chi. And then once you put in your selections, they filter the courses down for you, and you have access to that anytime you want. Spiro 100 also offers occasional, I think at least once a week, live video. So you'll get an email and say, hey, we have a live meditation video coming up with an instructor if you want to attend. It's virtual, but it's a live class. So this has been really well received from our members, and has been a great benefit of membership to have unlimited access to Spiro 100 as well. There's no better time to begin focusing on reducing your fall risk because September is Fall Prevention Month. So in Ohio, and I speak of Ohio because that's where I'm located, they have a initiative called 10 Million Steps here in Ohio, and it's an initiative sponsored by the Ohio Department of Aging to raise awareness of older adult falls. So Ohio urges residents to commit to walking 1 mile in the month of September to walk toward the 10 million steps to prevent falls. So we thought we'd take our own little spin on the 10 million steps here in Ohio and create our own Walk 350 Kendal Challenge. Because our membership is about 350 strong and growing, the challenge is for each member, friend, guest, staff, and family member to walk at least 1 mile between September 21st, today, and October 22nd to contribute to the goal of 350 miles. Feel free to send us a picture of you walking and to provide your mileage totals, and the website is located right here. And we'll post your progress on our website and our Facebook pages. So we look forward to getting a little snapshot of you in motion, getting your mile at least of exercise during September 21st to October 22nd. I think we'll blow that goal out of the water, honestly. We're going to have to call it the Walk 1000 next time. And just a couple educational pieces you might not know, or maybe you do. If you have an iPhone, there's actually an app on your iPhone that is tracking your steps without you even knowing it. It's a little white square with a pinkish red heart. And if you look through your apps on your phone, you should see this health app on your iPhone. It tracks your steps, it tracks walking, running, flights of stairs climbed, and you can even view your step length. You can edit and create your profile to include your age, your weight, health details. But it's a great way to monitor how many steps you're getting in. So that is automatically comes on your iPhone and your iPad, and can be used on your iWatch. I think it is called iWatch, on your watches as well. And if you are an Android user, this similar app is available called Google Fit, and it works in the same way. It tracks your walking, your steps, your biking, running, and you can modify and set up your profile in the same manner to include medical conditions, height and weight, to track your activity. All right, so now that you have all that information, it's time to ready, set, step, get in motion. And we have some resources here that we'll be happy to share, and we can share the slides with individuals if you're wanting that information as well, but it includes the CDC, home modifications, Center for Healthy Aging, National Institute on Health, aging.ohio.gov, Baloflex, Spiro 100, World Health Organization falls information, and a beginner's guide to the Google Fit app. So lots of information and resources available to you. And then before I take any questions, I just did want to mention we have some upcoming events, upcoming member events. This Friday, September 24th, we'll be joined by Cleveland Hearing and Speech to discuss how to encourage a loved one to improve their hearing. Monday, September 27th is Movement Monday, and it is a Baloflex day. So Terry will be conducting a Baloflex class on Monday. And on Friday, October 1st, we will have one of our brain health series that we have monthly, and the topic will be activities for later stage dementia. We also have a couple of events open to both members and guests. So upcoming, we have Thursday, September 23rd at 12 o'clock, Medicare 101 changes for the 22 open enrollment period. And Tuesday, October 5th at 11 o'clock, fourth quarter end of year tax strategies. So we look forward to seeing all of you at least one of our upcoming events, and hope you have gained some further knowledge about falls and falls prevention today. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you have any questions, please feel free to click on chat and enter those in the chat box, and I will try to answer them the best we can.
Watching for questions. So far, I don't see any.
All right.
You can either type them into the chat box, or feel free to type them into the Q&A. I did get a well done for you, Marla,
Thank you.
from one of our people.
Wonderful. All right.
What do you think, if there's one thing, Marla, that people really should concentrate on, just the first step, what would you say it would be to help prevent falls?
It's so hard to narrow it down, but I think the one that I mentioned most today is doing that medication review. So many times that interaction of medication or side effect of medication or realizing you're taking a medication the way you thought you were supposed to be is so important to review with your doctor. Even if it's a medicine you've been taking for years, as you age, the way your body metabolizes those medications changes. And sometimes you don't need as high of a blood pressure pill dose or other medication dose. And because your body metabolizes it differently, you might need a higher or lower adjustment, and you could be having side effects that you hadn't had despite having taken that medication for years. So I would start there. I'm a therapist, so I've got to give a plug for therapy. Being proactive instead of reactive, instead of waiting until you have that fall, what steps can you put in place? Getting a therapy evaluation from a physical therapist, especially to take a look at balance and strength and core strength and seeing where you need a little bit of a tune-up and setting that home exercise program up so that you can try to prevent those falls. I know you only asked one, Sue, but I gave you two. So
that's okay. And now we have another question.
okay.
When thinking about outdoor walking, the Walk 350 challenge, how fast or slow should we be moving? Is there a guide to safe miles per hour speed? And how long should it take me to walk a mile?
Those are all good questions, and I don't know if I have answers, but I will have to do a little research and see if there's any recommendation for steady gait. I'd say from a therapy perspective, the most important thing is safety. So when we talk about fall prevention, we mentioned exercise should be at least moderately exerting. So you're feeling about 50% exertion in the activity that you're performing. So when you're doing walking as an activity to try to prevent falls, you do want, if it's safe, to try to get to a point where you're getting that heart rate raised a bit as you're walking so that it can help with building up cardiovascular and endurance, but safety is number one. So if you're not able, I'd rather someone go slow and steady wins the race as far as safety goes. But when we're talking fall prevention, it is recommended that at least moderate exertion is exuded.
Perfect.
And that I see a question about the challenge. I think there was some confusion about how many miles we expect you to walk and how often. It's fairly easier than you think, probably a mile sometime over the month. So between now and October 22nd, asking individuals to commit to walking 1 mile. Doesn't even have to be 1 mile at one shot, but 1 mile is the ask. So I think we're going to blow that request of 350 miles out of the water, knowing that many of our members walk 4 and 5 miles a day sometimes. So
I'm watching so far. I haven't seen anything else come in. Oh, another question. Is there a guide for hydration? Does proper hydration help with balance?
Yes. And I don't want to say it wrong. So I'm going to do a quick search even while we're talking, because I want to tell you the right amount. And I have an idea in my head, but I don't want to say it wrong. Hydration, especially in the elderly, is so important. It increases fall risk. So I appreciate you bringing up that point. We find that as we age, we are less likely to drink the ounces of water that we should be. And I want to tell you exactly so. Sue, I'm just going to look it up real quick so I can give an answer.
That's fine. And that was the second part of this question. How much water should I be drinking a day? So
it is generally recommended that older adults consume at least 1.7 liters per 24 hours. So about 7.1 cups of water. And it matters what you drink too, because if you're drinking tea and iced tea and coffee that are dehydrating, it truly needs to be water that you're drinking to help with hydration. And it's one of those things where you need to drink the water, not just drink when you're thirsty. So, I mean, there have been people I've known that have actually set little timers every hour, or during a commercial of their favorite show, they make sure they get some water down. So figuring out how to really focus on the hydration. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
That is awesome. I do not, but now every time I say I don't see any more questions, another one suddenly pops in there, but I currently do not see any more questions or comments. We would like to thank you all for joining us today. We really appreciated your participation and your questions, and we hope we gave you some more background and some more knowledge to use to help prevent falls. Anything else to add, Marla?
No, I appreciate everyone's time, and just to echo Sue, I hope you learned something. And if you're interested in getting a copy of the slides, you can reach out to Sue, and she'd be happy to provide those to you as well.
So you can either do that through me if you have my contact information, or all of you got information through the courses and seminars email, and you can also respond to that and I can get them sent out to you. So thank you all for joining us today. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.